What's up, people? How we doing? Good to see everybody again. My goodness, it means so much that you would tune in just for a little impromptu Q&A. And this is once again just a test. So I think we're only going to do about 30 minutes, but I figured hang out here on this, what is it, Thursday? I don't even know what day it is anymore, at 12 p.m. Pacific time, as I'm thinking if we can get the show live and be all good and good enough quality, um, this would be, in theory, the new time slot for the new women's show that we will be doing over at MMA Mania, as you can see down there. And guys, since the WMA Today podcast, just a couple weeks ago, look at this. StreamYard has added background music, which that's kind of a nice little vibe to it. I don't know if I would do this on the new show, but I think I'll leave it on for here because it's kind of nice. I kind of like it. Even though I don't know if that is going through the mic as well. I might need to plug the headphone in so it's not repeating for you guys. But tell me if you like that, because I think that's kind of nice. Especially for something like this where I don't have anything planned. I'm relying on you guys. We'll talk about whatever you want. There are fights this weekend. Doesn't have to be exclusive to the women, because this is just a random Q&A. Like I said, a little test, 30-minute hangout. Let's have some fun, talk about whatever. And I can hear this down here. I don't really know how it sounds the whole time, but I can adjust the volume and all that. Kind of fun. I like it. I think that's a good little feature. Maybe not for this kind of thing, but for some things, I think that's not bad. But anyway, Jen asked earlier, good to see you, Jen. Will I be starting on time? Yes, I will be starting. I generally like to start on time as much as I can. James, what is up, man? Ghost, how you doing? Jimmy says, sup, Drake. I read your Joanna piece. What are your takes on it? Good question to start with, Jimmy. Thank you so much. And guys, if you are just joining, whether on Twitter or YouTube, but if you are seeing this on Twitter, then you should see that I added the link so you can comment on YouTube, because Twitter and StreamYard don't go well together when it comes to comments for whatever reason. So yeah, you want to be here on YouTube. I'm directing that too for questions and any comments whatsoever. We're just hanging out here. Probably a little 30-minute Q&A, as I mentioned off the top. So yeah, Jimmy mentioning Joanna, as she was on podcast released the other day on the ATT Punchin' In podcast, as they call it. And she spoke about several different things, if I can speak myself. One of which was who hits harder between Rose Namajunas and Weili, and who she thinks hits harder than both of them, which is Valerie Letourneau, which surprising, I'm sure, to many. As well, first of all, the most surprising part about all of that, I think, is you would assume, judging by the damage that Weili did to her, that we did see, and just how wild that fight was, that I would have assumed that Weili would have been her answer there. But hey, she felt the punches and the shots, not me. But it was fairly dismissive, as she also mentioned that Weili and Andrade are not as strong, maybe, as they look, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's hard to say, like, you can't say she's wrong, Jimmy, because it's how she feels. You know, we haven't felt that or anything. But yeah, it's surprising. I wouldn't have guessed that. I guess that's the best way you can put it. You can't say she's wrong. I've seen some people say in the comments of that story that she's just saying, she's being dismissive of Weili because she wants to convince herself that she won't be as dangerous when they have a rematch, which could be true, but we don't know. It's all in Joanna's head. We're not really, can't really say. So, surprised, I guess, is the best way to put it, Jimmy. Cintro, what is up, man? Good afternoon. Oh, Juan says, bring the stash back in time. I'm enjoying kind of the lack of maintenance at the moment, but don't you worry, it will be back soon enough. Scott, what is up? Tommy T, my man, shout out to the best, most underappreciated writer in MMA. If you guys don't follow Tom, get at him. I think think it's Tom Tay MMA on Twitter. Drop your handle, Tom. Come on now. But he's the man. I love that boy. So he is over at SCMP doing great stuff as well. But you should check out all of Tom's work. Some of my favorite pieces all time are from him. His stories about going to wild small cities in China and whatnot. Fantastic. So thank you for tuning in, Tommy. Rue says, hello, Drake. Good to see you as well, sir. I recently read that on SB Nation that Whaley training for the booze was stupid and snowflake training. But isn't it a good thing she prepared for an environment like that? Yes, I agree. And that was something talked about around the fight, I think. Yeah, of course. You guys know. I don't need to tell you this. All of you guys specifically, the guys who followed along with the MMA Today podcast, you and Whaley and whatnot, you know that, well, just if you follow kind of that, everything that's happened with Whaley since she lost, I mean, it's been comments have been very racially, I don't know, energized in negative ways. So maybe that would be a part of it. And obviously with the climate in America these days, and not to get political and all that, but a lot of politics involved in every single thing. That could be where maybe that comes from. Whereas if it was with someone else, maybe they wouldn't say that, because I'm sure plenty of people have done that before. I mean, here, think about this. Actually, here's a great example. I'm sure that it has happened at some point in time where an American fighter, or non-American fighter, any type of fighter who's going to Brazil, has trained for that environment, because we know how very nationalist those crowds are, which is what it is. Not saying that's a good or a bad thing, but we know that it's a fact that they chant for you to die there. So, it is what it is. It is what it is, unfortunately. But yeah, I think why not get yourself ready for that? It makes sense to me, but it doesn't to racists, I guess. Not to generalize at all, but I think that safe assumption a little bit there. Juan says, who would win in a shoot fight, Brock Lesnar or Ken Shamrock? At this current, right now in 2022, obviously Brock Lesnar. So I don't think there's any doubt about that. If you were to do Prime versus Prime, I think it'd probably be a little bit closer. I think that Brock is one of the most overrated fighters of all time. Definitely fairly reliant on his size, because he's massive. And Ken Shamrock, I don't think is ever amazing either, but I don't know. If you're asking right now, Juan, definitely Brock, because Ken couldn't beat Royce Gracie a couple years ago, which I still cannot believe that fight happened in Bellator. As Go says, who cares what she says? The strategy that Whaley used against Joanna in that fight forced Joanna to go away from her jab, pivots, and ring control. There you go, attaboy. There you go. Tom's dropping it. It's too kind. Tom Tay, MMA. I knew it. Tom says, Shavkat Rakhmonov is back this weekend. How do you rate him? How does he stack up against Khamzat? Great question, as Shavkat does have plenty of hype. And I hope to speak with him at some point, maybe after the win. Potential win, right? Don't want to get ahead of ourselves here. But how do we rate Shavkat? It's hard right now, because he is still in that kind of spot where looks pretty damn amazing for where he's at. But I need to see him against some better competition before we say that guy is going to be like Khamzat, or somebody who's gone on to prove their hype was worth it. And I mean, he's looked like he will, but I'm not sold on that yet. So if I was to rate him, let's say out of 10 on the potential scale as of right now, I'd give him a solid 7. I believe in him. A very well-rounded looking guy. Against Khamzat, in terms of potential, not quite there, because Khamzat's really proven himself inside the octagon and even in grappling against Jack Hermanson. Khamzat, I would say, is probably at a 9-ish, and if they were to fight, hard not to favor Khamzat right now. But the striking of Shavkat, there's still a lot to learn about Khamzat's striking, so that would be a very stylistically, from what we've seen right now, very interesting, tricky matchup, I think, for each. But you got to favor Hamza right now because he's beat the better guys. I always look at, the resumes a little bit, even though I think record-wise they're fairly similar. I don't have them up right now, but off the top of my head, I know they don't have like a big number of fights difference, Jimmy says, why do people keep complaining about the result of Weili versus Joanna? We can change the result. We can't. We can't change the result of it. And how did you score it when you watched it? Also, your thoughts, Ghost, he's asking. Okay, cannot. Yeah, we can't change the result, of course. I don't know. I think I haven't honestly seen very much complaining about Weili versus Joanna since it happened, and even when it did happen, I didn't see that many complaints. Yes, there's always going to be fucking absolute morons who say a fight like that, or any close fight is a robbery. And I did see plenty of surely just Joanna stands saying that was a robbery, which no, it definitely was not. No matter who you think won it. So got to get that out of the way because I fucking hate when that happens. So yeah, I honestly don't see too much complaining about it, but surprisingly, I got a little bit more comments my way from people saying that they did think Joanna won the other day after writing that story up. Yeah, I don't know. Whenever people think that they were right, they want to let you know. So I think that's why it gets brought up, Jimmy, in any case. Like I said, I haven't seen it too much, but if you keep bringing it up and you can't change it, that's why, because they want to let you know, I disagree with that. So how did I score it, though? Trying to remember round by round how I scored it. I thought Weili won, and I've thought Weili won it every time I've watched it, which I think I've watched about 5 times or so now. I mean, I'll happily go back and watch it again, but I want to say, I don't know if I actually put my scores out. Let's go to MMA decisions real quick. I want to say like 1, 4, and 5. It's hard to remember exactly which rounds. Well, let's see if I put my scores in for that one. Real quick here. As you guys enjoy that new background music. How nice. Let's see. What was it? During this fight, I was working. I know that. Oh, there we are. 48-47 for Weili is what I scored it. Which rounds? I was right. I remembered correctly. I'm proud of myself. I gave Weili round 1 and then 4 and 5. 10-9s for everything. Of course, no 10-8s in that one. So I gave Joanna 2 and 3. And I feel like I've scored it that way every way since. Maybe the 3rd round? No, I don't know. I'll have to go back and rewatch it, but I feel like that was a common scorecard I continually came up with after watching it live. But that's how I scored it live, Jimmy, 48-47. And I think 48-47 is probably the only way you can score that. I know some people thought 49-46 for Weili, so giving her 4 rounds. But I think 3-2, probably about right. Again, very close fight. No robbery, however you cut that. Alan Ferris, good to see you. Hope I pronounced that correctly. Says Prime Velasquez or Prime Cormier. A question as old as time. I do love me some Prime versus Prime discussion. I used to do plenty of threads like those on SureDog. I think DC. It's tough with Kane because, again, going back to the resumes, if you look at who Kane beat, he did beat a lot of good guys, but in his prime, he only fought 2 people. He only fought Junior and Bigfoot back to back to back. In 5 consecutive fights, it was those 2 guys, just on a loop. So, yeah, he was amazing, but only against those 2 guys. Whereas for Cormier, I mean, we've seen him look incredible against everybody, even the guy who's beat him in Stipe. And didn't look terrible against Jones in that first round of their second fight either. And then, of course, Jones is a cheater. We can get into that if you want, but that's how I feel about it. Seems pretty clear. I know the arguments that can be made, but I think I would take DC. It'd be pretty close. Of course, it'd be a fantastic fight, but I don't know. With Kane, it's like I don't understand how people have always propped Prime Kane up to be like, to say that that was the GOAT, because you look at who we saw him against and it wasn't the same variety, I guess, of competition as, let's say, Fedor or DC, even Stipe. Like, I know Stipe has fought, the same people as well recently, but it was just a weird time, I think, for Kane, and it kind of, at least in my mind, puts a mark on his skill level GOATness, because I think no one should say that he is the GOAT for what he did, because, again, he didn't take out everybody. He took out the same two guys in that stretch there. So Centro says, I know you love Ryzen, but why are the promoters' decisions so bad, like the Roberto Satoshi match? Well, I'm assuming you mean the rematch with Yauchi that happened on New Year's Eve. Yes, I disagreed with that one. Believe it should have been O'Hara. Well earned that one. And now, if they can make it happen, it seems like he will get passed over again for Johnny Case, who hasn't won a fight since he lost to Tofik. He lost to Tofik in the tournament, right? Either way, I know that Johnny Case hasn't won a fight since like 2018 and is coming off a loss. So I don't think that makes sense, but it's being talked about. It's about the stories for Ryzen. And I mean, if you shameless plug, watch Broaden Horizon, or listen to Shingo when he kind of talks about this kind of thing. It's all about, the story. What is a better story there? And I personally think you can make a great story generally out of anything. And of course, that's my writer mind, I guess, being very story driven. But like a guy like O'Hara, who's had nearly 45 fights, I think, and he's only about 30, has been killing it as the Deep Jewels champ now. Interim champ, I believe that Koji Takeda is still the actual undisputed champion. But, I mean, he's a pretty great story. Practically been a lightweight journeyman his whole career, with all due respect. But now he's fucking stomping people's brains out, and looking fantastic. I think there's a great story to build there. I mean, this guy who's been just totally Japanese regional scene guy and has a win over Yauchi. I mean, that's right there. That's the fight. I don't know. But what is juicier, I guess, is the rematch in their minds. Sometimes. We'll see if that happens again. Johnny Case is stuck in America right now when it comes to going there. So not a guarantee that that'll happen next, but it sounds obviously like that's what they want. And we heard that on the broadcast even. Little Scott, good to see you, sir. Rain says, are you excited to see Izzy beat Whitaker again? The 185-pound division is pretty bad besides those two. I definitely agree that those two are up above everybody else. But no, I'm not excited to see Izzy beat Whitaker. I like Whitaker more than Adesanya, honestly. And you know what? If I was to make an official pick, which I don't see anywhere that I would for that one, I think Whitaker has a very good chance. And you know what? I think I actually did put my pick down in the Fanatics app that I am going to take Whitaker in that one. If he can show that well-rounded game he did against Kelvin and not fall into kind of the traps he did after being burnt out as well against Izzy the first time, I think he can do it. I believe in Robert getting the belt back. Not going to be easy, but Adesanya is not invincible, and we have seen that. So great rematch, though. I'm so happy that it's finally happening. Knock on wood that nothing happens since then. Until then. Thank you, Tommy. He gives me an 11 out of 10. Oh, this guy. And Alex, my other boy, is here. Hi with the purple heart. How generous. Ghost says, when you watch Weili vs. Joanna, you can see Weili take away important weapons that Joanna does well and forced her to exchange and beat her on the counter. So if you rewatch, consider those things. There you go. And all right, Ghost with a similar score. He gives round 2 to Weili instead. Joanna 1 and 3, and then 4 and 5 for... So 2, 4, and 5 for Weili. I kind of said that weirdly, but... So our differences there is he has 2 and I had 1. But yeah, 4 and 5, I think, felt clearest for Weili. Of course, all rounds were very tight, but she just was more impactful with everything she did, in my opinion. For the most part. Obviously not the entire fight, as we did score rounds for Joanna, but yeah. Litchell says, I think Weili also won the second fight versus Rose. That fight, I think, was probably closer. Honestly, I think Namajunas and Weili 2 was a closer fight than Joanna Weili. I mean, goodness, I still struggle to say who I think won that fight because it all comes down to that last minute of the third round. All comes down to it. And on the live watch, I gave it to Rose. On my rewatch, I think I've only watched it twice. Man, ooh, it is so close. I lean towards Weili a little bit, but my God, that's a tough one. That's a very tough one. This Ghost mentions weapons taken away for Joanna was her jab, her body work, and her normal cagecraft. There you go. Love to hear it. The analysis from Mr. Ghost. As Alvin is here. Good afternoon, Mr. Riggs. I cannot stay long. Just wanted to wish you and the rest of the chat well. Appreciate it, Alvin. No problem. I'm not staying long as well either. About maybe 9-10 more minutes. Just a little test, quick catch-up Q&A for you guys as I update it off the top. Kind of still deciding if we can do, if we do the live show, if the show that I will be doing next on MMA Mania will be live, it will be probably at this time slot of 12 p.m. Pacific time. And then either way, if it's not live, it'll be recorded at that time on Monday. So that's kind of the idea. This is a test to see how this goes here, and I mean, it looks like the connection's held up pretty stably, which is the whole point of this. So yeah. Jen says, why are the 5 big names training at Fight Ready considered as super villains? What's wrong? I think it is entirely because of Henry Cejudo and Eric Albarracin. They just have those personalities that are not normal, I guess. So that automatically goes to bad guys or villains, like you say. That's why I think so. Bruce says, how much do you hate Cejudo because of what he did to Cruz? More hate than you have for Cody Garbrandt? No, actually. No, I am much more anti-Cody than I am Henry. I actually like Cejudo and find him hilarious because of how silly he is. Like, I don't think he's not funny, but it's just like so silly, awkward that it makes me laugh now. And when you understand it's a character and gimmick, I always find I can understand those things a bit. But I'm more upset at Keith Peterson than Henry Cejudo for that, because who knows how it could have gone afterward. But as for Cody, just like he was much more of a genuine douche, personality-wise, in that whole thing. And then during the fight, and it just frustrates me so much more that I think Dominic really beat himself in that fight. When you look at it, and he could have won that fight if he approached it differently, which is, yeah, of course, you can say that about anything. But like the fact that he was out there just super duper aggressively and throwing multiple spinning back fists. I will never forget Dominic attempting just spinning back fists, which is just completely out of character. It does not fit his style. It just shows you how frustrated he got and emotional about the whole thing. So I think there were ways to win that fight, and he still won rounds. And in my opinion, I gave him 1, 2, and 5. And then 3 for Cody, and I believe round 4 was a 10-8. So I had that fight a draw. It's probably maybe my bias, but that fight was actually not a one-sided domination as people make it out to be. Yes, Cody definitely looked phenomenal and did much better than anyone expected to. But if you look at it, Dominic still did Dominic things, but his problems cost him the emotions and whatnot. James, I see that question there. I'm respectfully not going to answer that just because it is people that I am around on occasion. But I don't remember the debacle you're necessarily referring to. Jimmy says, I feel like Drake's brought in Ryzen and Kyoji was the only thing good about Ryzen. Damn, that is harsh, Jimmy. I appreciate that. It's very kind of you, but my goodness. What about Ayaka? What about Siori? All the people that we've talked about and liked. Reina, list goes on and on. The rule set, I mean, geez, that is very harsh. Rain says, why is Horiguchi ranked so low on Bellator rankings, and why does JHK deflect the blame to other people when he's asked about it? I don't know. You'd have to ask John about that. It's yeah, I don't have the answers to his answers. But why is Horiguchi ranked so low on Bellator rankings? Because they're not good. We know that the Bellator rankings are not good. And I will tell you guys right now that actually they approached me recently and asked if I wanted to be on the rankings, and I did decline, as much as I do enjoy doing rankings and would like to put my input there and things like that. But it's just, I don't know, it's just more work that I wouldn't get paid for, and it just doesn't, I don't want that responsibility and following. It just adds more to do for, that's not exactly worth it for me, especially when it's a big deal for the promotion, you know. So it'd be nice, I would like to do something like that, but it's got to be worth the time, you know, especially as I'm getting busier here. Sid says, hey Drake, listening in the background, cheers, and by the way, same hopes for Whitaker. Thank you, Sid, good to see you as well. Hope you're enjoying the background music. James says, for Whaley Namajunas, how do you not score the third round of Whaley when she ends on mount at the end of the round? That's what I'm getting at, kind of, right? I mean, that the first 4 minutes of that fight, of that round, excuse me, very, very close. Good stuff on the feet from both. I think they both did very well. And then that last minute, Whaley gets her down, gets her back for a brief moment, which is a great position. That's, you know, impactful grappling, scoring, all that kind of thing. Then she does end up in mount, like you said, only gets off about 1 or 2 good shots, but there's some big shots, but it is also mount. So that makes me lean right there. That entire sequence, that last minute, was very big for her. And if it's completely tight right before then, you say, how does that not sway it, right? So I'm with you, James. It's I can see the arguments against it because of, like, I don't know, the amount of damage done there wasn't much. There was damage, like I said, with those final shots, but it's a tricky one. It is a tricky one. Centro says, when will you interview Ramona? I can ask her today. I know you guys are dying for that. I've been kind of trying to settle in and, you know, map out things here with Mania, as this is the first week and I already have 3 interviews in the can ready to come out. Hopefully we'll be getting Jessica Del Boni out this week. She was great. Angela Lee is on the way. Spoke to Chet Congo yesterday, which he was actually incredibly entertaining. Very funny guy. Had plenty to say. So that was fun, actually. So yeah, I can add Ramona to this list soon enough. As Jimmy says, personal question for you, Drake. Why do you wear black nail polish on one hand? Look at this guy. Very observational. And funny enough, not on right now. But I do have an inappropriate answer that I give to that just for funsies. But I will tell you, the real answer is, I don't know. As I've gotten more tattoos on this arm, which are the only part of my body I have tattoos on, I felt like it, to balance it out, I had to put the black on the other hand. So it's a silly explanation, maybe just my OCD in my head, but I kind of have started to like it. It's just, I don't have it on right now, but that is why I have started doing that, Jimmy. So good, very good observational skills. I knew someone would ask about that eventually. Rain says, can you interview Horiguchi again? He was incredible. Of course I can. Yeah, when it's timely, certainly. Before the tournament, I'll definitely get on that. James says, what are your thoughts on NFT for UFC and Ghost's investment advice to invest in things that he's morally against? I'm assuming you mean fight-wise rather than actual investments in everyday life or whatever. I mean, it makes sense. You want to get better everywhere that you can, even if that's not a strong point, I guess, if I'm understanding correctly. But thoughts on NFT for UFC, whatever, I guess. I'm still not 100% sure exactly what NFTs really are. They're just like gifts you can buy or whatever, as far as I understand. I've not put too much thought into NFTs. Sid says, who is the current biggest MMA reporter in your opinion? In his opinion, he says John Morgan. John Morgan is definitely a fair shout. Great guy. Love John. Biggest, though, in terms of, you mean physical size or in terms of popularity? That was an easy jab. In terms of popularity, it's undeniably Ariel. It's not even close, I don't think. Well, I mean, I think John's probably fairly close up there, but it's probably them too. Unless you want to count Okamoto. Probably between them 3 being closest to each other, but I would say Ariel is definitely the biggest, most well-known. As Ghost says, James and Drake, it's a win-win for all. If I lose money, it's for the greater good. And if the world goes bad, then I make some money. All right. There we go. Galactus is here. What's up, man? Haven't seen you on a live chat before. He says, oh, nice hair. Thank you. Yes, I still got it long, even though I did take the sides off a while back. So it's all from the top. Thank you, sir. Letting it down right now because I'm going to go for a run after this before I start my shift today. Galactus says, what brand conditioner do you use? I use Pantene, I believe. Hold on. Let me check real quick. I'm going to check for you. Yes, I have the bathroom, the shower right next to the studio here. So it is Pantene. Pantene something. See, I'm a man of the people, Galactus. I got you. Rain says, for Whaley Rose 2, how surprised were you that Rose decided to take Whaley down, considering Whaley was getting the better of her on the feet? I guess fairly surprised. I mean, that makes sense to do, right? That's logical. So I wouldn't have expected her to do that. That's why it was surprising. But the fact that she did makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, that was a good move. It obviously paid off. But yeah, so half surprised. Galactus says, I paint my middle fingernail black sometimes. Yeah, there you go. I used to start out with just the thumb, and then I was like, let's do the whole thing, see how it looks. But not a bad one to go with. Sid says, I wish you could interview Erin Blanchfield. I'm quite impressed with her, wondering if any Habib influenced by her. You know what, Sid? You're in luck because I have interviewed Erin Blanchfield. Go check it out here on the channel. I talked with her before her last fight. So you can check that out. And I'll definitely get around to her again at some point. So yeah, Erin is awesome. I think she's incredible. So go check that out, man. As we're about to wrap up here. Go says John Morgan, literally the biggest next day. So see if you want to take it that way. You can, actually, no, I think there's someone else in mind, but I'm not going to say their name. Maybe a couple people, but yeah. Sintra says, how did you like Vanessa Demopoulos' submission when it was sad for me as a Silvana Gomez Juarez supporter, defender, I guess you could say. But it was very impressive, and Ghost Phantom and I talked about it a little bit afterwards. It was it was very impressive. Well done by her. I mean, it was terrible fight IQ by Silvana, but it was a great quick comeback, you know. So Uru says, how do you deal with idiots on your DMs during fight week? I actually don't get that many, thankfully. The most frequent time period for when I get any idiots in my DMs are when they don't like a scorecard I put out. So during events, but it doesn't happen that often because I'm so good at scoring now. But I don't know. I actually don't. Thankfully, I don't get too much hate on much. So. Jamie says, Prime Whaley versus Prime Gadelia, your pick. I got to go Whaley. I mean, we've seen that Prime Claudia's biggest issue was her gas tank, I think. She was well on her way to beating Joanna in that second fight. But then she tired out like crazy and didn't even land really a single strike in, the fourth round? I mean, Whaley wouldn't have much trouble. She'd probably lose the first 2 rounds, but then she'd win the last 3. So yeah. Rain says, do you consider Bellator a regional show? Definitely not. No, it doesn't make sense. They go all around the world, and I mean, they're the second biggest promotion in the world. So no, definitely not regional. It says, fuck yeah, gonna check the Erin Blanchfield interview. Thanks for doing it. Yeah, man, of course. She is phenomenal. James says, are you tired of the Jake Paul nonsense? Absolutely. I've been tired of it before it even started. So not a fan, but okay, you guys, we are at that 35-minute-ish mark, so a little bit over. I appreciate it so much. I think we'll wrap up here. Like I said, just want to do a quick one today as a test, and I think it looks like it went well. I liked the background music addition. Not going to be a permanent thing, but I figured it would do it here. So, yeah, but this looks like a solid time slot. I'll have to watch it back myself. Quality appears to have held up, which is nice. And yeah. As Jimmy asks, a great way to close. How do we check out your stuff on MMA Mania? Go to mmania.com, and I don't think that if you go to like my profile page, that it is like / Drake Riggs or whatever. But if you go to one of my stories, which should be on my Twitter right now, then you click on my name at the top there, the byline, then you can see all my stuff. So that's how you can see that right there. And I mean, I'll be tweeting about it anyway, Jimmy. So you can find it there. But on MMA Mania, just if you want to see my stuff specifically, I don't know, why don't you can bookmark my page or whatever. So there you go. But yes, definitely check out MMA Mania, of course. And like I said, those interviews on the way. Have the new women's show coming. Have Broad Horizon continuing on. Got to book those coming up here. And yeah, we'll see you guys then for that show, which by this month we'll get it rolling. All right, that's the idea. And at the same time, likely on Mondays, still a Monday show, all that kind of thing. So appreciate you guys so much. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, Galactus. Thank you, Sid, Ghost, James, Rue. Glad you think they're fun, man. Tommy T, Alex was here. So many people. I really enjoyed it. I appreciate it honestly so much. Rain, Galactus, say all the names if I can. Cintro, Litchell, Scott. I appreciate it so much though that you guys would tune in for something so random like this one. A little test that is really cool and gets me excited for what we can do and grow into in the future, because plenty of potential to do so, you guys. So until then, thank you so much. Follow me, Drake Riggs _ Twitter and Instagram, and then of course MMA Mania, as I said. And I will see you when I see you guys. Peace out and take care. You're awesome, Centro. We'll leave it there.